Okay, so thanks guys. It looks like mostly everybody is in now. So good morning to everybody that is on the call. Thanks for joining us. This is the very first of our new webinar series, Digitising Your Workforce, Field Service Edition. So you'll see many more of these come out from us, and we'll sort of look to review a different industry each time as we go through our webinar series. So my name is Yolandi. I'll introduce myself in just a tick, but before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. So you'll notice as you've dialed into the webinar that your microphone and your camera are turned off. Please leave those off. It will save for bandwidth on the webinar. And we'll obviously not have any noise disturbances if we all keep our microphones off. We've also got the ability to ask questions at the very end of the webinar. We will run through any of the questions that you guys might have. If you could please pop those into the chat box and just to myself. So my name is Yolandi, and then at the very end, we'll go through some of those questions with you and answer any of those. So over to introductions. So we have on the call today, so I'll introduce myself firstly. My name's Yolandi. I'm a business development specialist here at TOKN Technology. So I've been with TOKN now just for just over 3 months, and although I'm new here, I've got quite an extensive background in the technology world and SaaS tech startup companies, so a little bit of knowledge to share. But I'll be the host for the webinar as well today, so you'll hear a lot of my voice. So as I say, pop any questions in the chat box as we go, and I'll sort of answer those toward the end. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks, Yolandi. Yeah, hi, Michael from Stratus Group. So we've been involved with the TOKN guys for quite some time now. Obviously, you guys, well, most of you probably know me from Horizon Days and now Stratus. So we look after a lot of advanced clients throughout Australia. And today I'll be talking through with Yolandi a site that we've worked together with Elan, so I'll be running through that later.
Thanks, Mike. Over to you, Carl.
Yes, thank you, Yolandi. Hey, everyone. My name's Carl Brooks. I'm the Ecosystem Partner Manager here at MYOB. I'm really excited about today's webinar because it does really identify, you know, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And the nice part about TOKN is it does give us the right solution for the client's needs, and Mike will go into that in a bit more detail later on. But it also adds another layer of consulting revenue into your business by partnering with TOKN to use their technology stack to give the right solution to your clients. So back to you, Yolandi. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the introductions. So we'll kick off firstly. I thought what might be really good is just to give you an overview as to what's going to happen in today's webinar, just so you know where we're kind of at in the flow. So firstly, we'll go through just an introduction of field service and talk through some industry trends. That'll be with myself. I'll give you a high level of IPaaS technology, which is Integration Platform as a Service technology, and how that works. Then we'll throw over to Mike, who will go through Elan Energy case study, which is one that we worked on together. Then we'll throw over to questions, any questions that you guys have. And then for those of you who are consulting firms, you can stay on the line and we can talk through some of the partnering options with TOKN and how to go about that. So first off, I thought it might be good to start off with a bit of a definition of field service. Now, you might think this is very obvious, but there's a reason why I thought it might be good to sort of point this out. And you'll see as we go through the case study with Elan Energy that they aren't a typical business that you would consider a field service type business. So I thought I'd go through this definition and then we'll sort of come back and touch on this a little bit later as well. So a field service refers to any service performed out in the field. So it's to a company or a property. So field service typically involves, dispatching of workers or contractors, and they're sent out obviously to specific locations, obviously to, an endpoint, which is a customer, and they're usually delivering a service. So i.e. install, repair, maintenance of equipment or systems. And so we'll come back to this definition a little bit later, because you'll see through the case study with Elan that they aren't what you'd normally consider a standard field service business, but we've obviously used the field service module in MYOB Advanced and TOKN's field service application to be able to service these guys. So I thought it might be good also to run through a little bit of industry trend information. So this is, important to look to just to understand what's kind of changing in that industry and why there's sort of a need or an uptake for mobility services, or for, the need for these companies to have access to mobility services. So this is quite an interesting quote that I came across from Gartner, and it basically claims that in 2020, 75% of field services companies will use their own apps in their day-to-day work. And the installation of these apps will be on their technicians' mobile devices. And this will contribute to improving efficiency, reducing the response times of the company in dealing with requests to their customers. So I thought this one really kind of rang home in terms of how we're sort of helping Elan. So historically, with field services type roles, you might have found that there was a lot of paper involved. So a technician would probably have a piece of paper that they would have at the beginning of a day with a list of all of their appointments for the day. And then they would have to go out to the appointment, fill out on another piece of paper, what services they've done, and get the client to sort of sign off on a piece of paper. That piece of paper ends up in a back office somewhere where an admin person would then have to input that information into a system. So having the ability to do this all digitally and digitising this process is quite important, and obviously, a focus within this industry, but also having the ability to have these technicians use the devices they've already got. So instead of issuing them with handheld devices, being able to deploy a mobile application onto their phone is always going to be, more cost effective for the company, and obviously easier for the technicians to get up and running as well. I found this quite interesting as well. So this is a sort of map, and this shows the growth rates of integration platform as a service market by region. So I'll go through and explain integration platform as a service for any of you guys who are unsure as to what that means in just a moment. But I thought that this was quite interesting, being the region that most of us here are in. So you can see the green that's highlighted there was quite high. So it's a quite high growth region for companies looking to an integration platform to be able to help them solve their business problems. So some of you might be asking, what is an integration platform as a service? How does it work, etc.? So just to give you an example here of how TOKN works. So TOKN is an integration platform as a service. So you can see right in the middle there, you can see that TOKN platform. We're essentially a platform that sits between legacy systems and mobile applications. So we can connect into back-end systems. So in this case, in this example we're going through today, it's MYOB Advanced that we've connected into, but we also can integrate into many other systems like SAP, IFS, MYOB Greentree, and a number of others, Xero. So the list kind of goes on. It's really any software that has capability to have an API we can connect into. We can then bring data into our platform and then use that data to create workflows and deploy mobile and desktop applications. Okay, so along with a couple of other things that we can do on the platform, that is sort of the main thing we're focusing here on today. The platform does allow for other technology to occur. So we have other technology in the sense of sensor data as well. So that sort of fits in that IoT sort of region. So there's lots of other things the platform can do. And through this webinar series, we'll take you through some of that technology that we're able to do. But for today's purpose, this is the kind of flow we're looking at. So bringing in data from MYOB Advanced into our platform and then deploying that into a mobile or desktop application. One of the key features as well, because we're talking about a mobile workforce here, is that the platform does have the ability to deploy applications that can work offline. So as you can imagine, where you have field workers that are in remote locations sometimes, or in and out of areas with reception, the application will be able to store any work that they're currently doing. So if they fill out a form, that will be stored on the app, and the minute they're in an area with reception again, that information will be sent back via our platform to their relevant system. So quite a good sell point for us, considering sort of the markets that we deal with, and mobile workforces, obviously. You can see there in the mid-tier, there are in that platform there a list of some of the companies that we deal with, some of the industries rather that we deal within. And what you'll probably notice there that all these sort of industries have in common is that they have a mobile workforce, so people out in the field. Cool. So I'll flick over to Mike, and Mike's going to go through just an example of a case study that we worked on together, and how this opportunity sort of came about, how we identified what we were going to do to help solve their problem, and then show you through the solution that we provided. So over to you, Mike.
Cool, thanks, Yolandi. So as you can see here, Alan, their company, they pick up used tyres. So quite different with sort of a typical field service company where you're often delivering the service or you're delivering products. These guys actually pick things up. So they pick up used tyres. And from those used tyres, actually, they've got a plant that makes milled steel and light oil and carbon char. So a really cool business, and potentially the first in the world to move into that space where they're using every little piece out of those used tyres, they're actually getting a product out of, which is quite cool, and they'll be looking to expand across Australia. Now, these guys approached us with a quite an extensive sort of RFP process. And at the time, they were using a bespoke mobile application, so that was just something that was built uniquely for them because their needs are quite unique. They had Dynamics 365 for their sales. They had Xero for their accounting. And the issue they had was that, as I mentioned there, a lot of these systems were sort of separate, segregated. They weren't integrated. So there was a lot of double handling. So their bespoke mobile app that had the ability to track information out of the field, a lot of that information didn't flow naturally and seamlessly into Xero, and same thing with the sales side. So what we did with looking at MYOB Advanced is try to bring all of those systems together. Now, MYOB Advanced does have, as Yolandi's already mentioned, it does have a field service application. But what we felt for their requirements was that they needed a system that could be built unique to their needs. So that's where TOKN came in. And that was when we started to really investigate how TOKN can provide turnkey unique requirements to a business. So as I mentioned, for these guys, it was not just managing a route and having guys going out and servicing clients. It was managing some of the environmental side of things. So they've got a waste tracking form, a WTF, which they need to fill out every time they go to site, because if you think about it, tyres, there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of environmental impact on those tyres. So to pick up tyres, you need to go through all of these steps. So there's some things that TOKN did which were very, very unique to this business. You can just jump to the next slide, Yolandi. So what I'll do, I'll take you through these steps with the software, but I just wanted to talk through how the solution works. So initially, we get all of the appointments for the drivers in Advanced Field Service. Now, some of you may not be familiar with Advanced. It's MYOB's SaaS mid-tier solution. So it's a little bit bigger than the MYOB Account Right Live or the Xeros or the Quickens of the world. It sort of sits in that, as I say, that mid-market space. So it competes with other systems like Pronto, and almost up to sort of the tier 2, the really, the bigger systems. So it does have all of your accounting functions, so you can manage all of your sales and purchases and inventory, manages all your general ledger functionality. But for this situation here, the critical part was to manage that field service, so manage the allocation of the appointments. So from there, then TOKN really kicks in. So once we've allocated the driver to the site, that's where TOKN then kicks in. The guys come out and they use their tablets to see all of their appointments for the day and to click on each one as they arrive to site. So Yolandi, if you can jump to the next screen. So this is a vision of what Elan Energies see inside MYOB Advanced. So as I mentioned down the left pane there, you can see that they've got all of the other functions, being banking and finance and time and sales orders and the like. But over to the right, you can see all of their routes. So you can see the trucks. So we've just got truck C, B, A, so the various trucks in there. But basically each of those have a unique route for a unique day, and a driver and a vehicle is attached to that route. Next slide, please. So inside each of those routes, so this is truck B, and we've got the driver allocated, Mr. Doherty there. So we can see Ian Diffin Kelmscott and Automasters and Tyre Power down the bottom. So we can see the route and who they need to visit and when they need to visit them potentially. And that is an order, that is a structure. Now, each of those can be moved up and down. So you can sort of control when you're visiting each site, nice and easy with those little up and down arrows. But yeah, you can see all the various people that are they're visiting this truck, and this driver is visiting today. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit more detailed. So from here, we can see some of the information that's coming back into the system. So these have been completed. And also what it's showing is what happened inside that site. So what we picked up. So for these guys, we picked up some passenger and motor vehicle tyres, and there's some charges that get applied. So this is sort of some of the information that comes back in. We're also tracking sort of how long they were at the site and when they got there, and also the financial implication of that. Now, obviously, this is quite different to, as I mentioned, a typical field service process, but you'll see once you jump into the TOKN app that yeah, it can be uniquely designed to suit your requirements. Next slide, please. So here's where we jump into Elan. So think of this, into TOKN for Elan. So this is where the application works really nicely. Sometimes you find systems can get really busy and they're not user-friendly. With TOKN, what we did is we built a system that works well for the drivers. We keep the information that's critical to them that they want to see in their face, but we're hiding all that information that's not absolutely critical. So when they log in, you can see that they've got the customers that they've got their pickups for in a nice order. They've got an address that they need to go. They've got a little link so they can click on that address to see where it is and travel just using like Google Maps or any map service to get to that site. Once they get to the site, they connect to that customer, and you can see sort of the third slide in this section here is where they make decisions on what they're picking up. So in this situation, they picked up 5 passenger tyres. What we do is we have a weight, and that weight is also attached to that waste form. Okay, so that waste tracking form. So, so again, that's what they have to do from a government perspective is attach this pickup to a waste form. They also need to make decisions about how much of the truck the tyres are taking up. So lots of really cool calculations that we've done to help out, and also some cool calculations in terms of what they're charging. So dependent on what they're picking up will constitute what the charge is applied to this customer. Next slide, please. So once they've finished that appointment, they submit that, it's completed, and they go on to the next customer. So again, you can see sort of just a nice simple color scheme. It's really easy for the guys to use. And then they're just jumping onto the next one to go and see Jenny's Tyres. And they do get an update once it is completed and sent back to MYOB Advanced. They get a little completed sort of tick there. So it lets them know that back in the office, they're aware that yes, you've gone to that site and what tyres you picked up. So for these guys, it was really helpful because those tyres are being consumed. Those tyres are being put into their plant. and ripped and shredded and all this work. So that kiln needs to be working 24/7. So what's happening out in the field is really important for them to understand. So they're getting live feedback from what's happening in the field, what guys are picking up, so they can keep that kiln running 24/7. Next slide, please. Now, what they also do is when they get to the site, when they finish off and they say, well, I picked up 26 passenger tyres and they picked up some bobcat tyres as well, and the total weight, they find out who is at site, who is the potentially the manager on the day. They get them to sign off. So that docket, this collection docket, gets emailed to the client to say that, yes, at this moment in time, this is what we picked up and this is the weight and this is and all the critical information, and more importantly, who's signed. Sometimes if they ever have a disagreement with their client, their customer, to say, you didn't come by and pick up these tyres, well, who signed for that? All that information's tracked there. So we're not only getting a signature, but we're getting the person's name who signed for the day. I think that's pretty much me, Yolandi.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Mike. So yeah, as you can see there, guys, just to sort of, I guess, summarize, is that we've got a lot of integration happening here with a lot of different bits and pieces. Obviously, that waste tracking form is important, and that integration to MYB Advanced and you know, the accounting function as well. So really good to kind of see that in a holistic view. So thanks for showing us through that, Mike. Cool. Awesome. All right. So now we'll probably throw to questions, because I guess this is where, you know, we get, you know, some of the more valuable bits and pieces out. So I've got a couple of questions here that came through on the chat box here. So I'll just go through some of these. So we had a question that said, what is the uptime for developing apps? How long does it take to get an app developed? So I think I can answer that question. So obviously it depends on the complexity of the app. If it is one that we've kind of created before and we have some sort of existing template for, you know, we can get an application up in a couple of weeks without any trouble. You know, if it's a really bespoke custom process, you know, we can still get it up fairly quickly. Just, I don't know if I covered this off, but just to mention that our platform is a low-code platform. So I guess one of the key sell points for us is that we're able to develop mobile applications fairly quickly. So that's some of the reason, you know, a lot of people tend to want to use our platform as well. And then here's a question for you, Mike. So this one said, how involved were you with the development of the ELAN application from start to finish?
Yeah, our team were quite heavily involved. So, and just on the matter of development, these guys made the decision in May and they were live in July. So that just gives you an idea of the pace that both we and TOKN can work. So yeah, it was our role to sort of project manage everything from start to finish. The TOKN guys came on to provide that critical mobility piece, but it was our role to manage all of the financial side of things as well. So everything from, you know, the chart of accounts, uploading the customers, setting up, you know, purchase order forms, training the team on how to use all the various applications and functions. So yeah, we were fairly heavily involved, and TOKN's role was really most critically to build the app and then work with us on testing to make sure it worked to the client's requirements.
Okay, cool. And while I've got you there, Mike, there's another question here that's for you. So how did you identify that a platform was the best technology to use to help solve your customer's issue?
Yeah, really good question. So what we found with these guys is, you know, there's a lot of products out in the market that try and be everything to everybody. So, you know, we did at the first point think, well, you know what, maybe Advanced can manage that mobility piece, because there is an app that you can run off your phone from Advanced that can allow you to track information. But when we investigated the usability and also some of the critical pieces that these guys required, it wasn't going to cut the mustard. And that would be true for a lot of the systems out there. So, you know, there's some amazing systems like Simpro and ServiceMate, and they're brilliant for a service and maintenance side of things. But for these guys, it just wouldn't work. So what we really feel with TOKN is, the great thing is that it does come with a whole, you know, swag of bells and whistles out of the box. But what it can be done is configured uniquely to the client's requirements. So there was a discussion, can we use advanced for everything? And there was a bit of toing and froing, but the decision was made that no, critical part of this business is making that transaction in the field as seamless as possible. And that's where, you know, honestly, we couldn't do it. And that's when TOKN stepped in and built an application fit for purpose, unique to a land's requirements. And if you think about it, picking up ties, so it's not a delivery function, it's not servicing a bit of gear, piece of equipment, a client's equipment, or providing goods and services to site on a regular basis. This was picking up, so it was a reverse transaction, and all the environmental and controls and the waste tracking forms and capturing weight information, really quite unique. So that's where it stepped in.
Cool, thanks for that, Mike. Cool, so I think the next one I can answer. So this one says, can TOKN's platform integrate with any software? The short answer is basically yes, as long as we can get access to the data somehow from that system. It's usually through an API. We can use that data in our platform to then spit up any applications. We also have the ability to spit up applications that are not integrated as well. So it might be worth noting, if you have any kind of client, or if you are a company that has a paper form process that you'd like to just digitize, we can house that in the TOKN platform, and we have the ability to store that data. So you've always got access to that data, you know, for those forms if you're looking just to sort of digitize that process as well. Another question here, and this might actually throw us over to the next sort of slide, but this is a question. We are a consultancy. Are we able to develop on the platform? We have in-house devs. So the answer to that is yes. So we are currently working on a dev accreditation program. So that allows a consultancy to be able to become accredited in using the TOKN platform and developing their own apps on the platform as well. So I'll flick over to the next slide. So this next slide is talking about value for partners here. So we have quite an extensive partner network already, and we are looking to grow that. So we do have a partner program available. So a couple of things with the partner program. So obviously the value of using TOKN's platform from a partnering perspective is that you're able to get apps, you know, spun up pretty quickly for your clients. So we're obviously a low code, you know, cloud-based platform. You do have the development and support revenue coming your way. So once you're on the TOKN platform and you're developing yourself, then obviously you'll be charging that client directly for development and any support as well. So that's sort of the, you know, the key benefit. Outside of that, we do have a commission structure available. So if anyone wants to know more about that, you can get in touch with me and we can go through that. We do offer commission to any of our resellers that would like to use a TOKN platform to develop, or even if they are just reselling on that platform and you'd like us to develop the apps, that commission structure would still apply. We do have a very good partner resources page on our website, which you can check out as well. So that will have lots of handy information, things like case studies. So if you're looking for an example, you know, of a particular industry or particular solution that we've been able to solve, you'll be able to see that on our partner resources page. There's also other bits of handy information on there, like just quick videos on each of the applications we've developed and on our platform, etc. So do check that out. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we have free developer trainings. If you do have in-house devs, we can train those guys to be able to develop on the platform as well. So do let us know if you're interested in talking about partnership options. That is open, to any firms that are currently on the call today. Cool. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I want to keep these webinars sort of short and sweet, straight to the point, give you guys a really good example of how we're solving problems in the market. So this is obviously the first of our webinar series, and this is just the field service edition. Keep an eye out. We will have other webinars coming up that will look to tackle, other problems specific to other industries as well. If you'd like to get in touch and talk to us more about the platform, or if you'd like to, chat to anybody else here or about the partner program, whatever it might be, you can jump on our website and fill out a form there. There is a web form. Otherwise, you can just email us directly, and it's just sales@tokenTechnology.com. Or we do have a 1-800 number there as well. So don't stress too much about jotting that down. We'll send out a follow-up email with all of this information there. So I do hope you guys found that valuable today. I hope that this was a good way to sort of, demonstrate how we're able to help and how we were able to help Elan in this situation with the field service module and the application we developed for them. So with that, if Mike or Carl didn't want to say anything extra, we'll kind of wrap it up here. Mike or Carl, anything to add?
No, all good, Yolandi. Thanks very much for organising the event.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I'll just like to say thank you to Yolandi and Mike for going through that case study with us. And it's just one idea, one flavour of what the solution can do for our clients. So do not think that's the only use case of it, and there is many more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Mike, for taking the time. And yeah, do look out for our next webinar that'll come up and tackling a whole new problem. And we hope to see you all back then. Thanks, guys.